Hi, my name's Matt, Head of Product Design at Redgate Software, and today I'm going to talk to you about designing for impact and how, as designers, we can have more influence in some of the kind of key product decisions that are happening around the company. So first of all, I wanted to start with a definition. So as designers, we talk a lot about impact, but what does that actually mean? So impact really is defined as having a strong effect or influence on something or someone. So in this talk, as I say, I'm going to try and describe that through the lens of design, what that means for designers and how we as designers can have more impact. So I'm going to start out by describing, I guess, from my own experiences, a spectrum of design kind of approaches or values. So on the left, you've got design idealism, which is thinking more about the purism and artistry of the craft of design. Over on the right, you've got design agnosticism, which is really a explicit focus on commercial outcomes. You're thinking about revenue, you're thinking less about craft. And then somewhere in the middle, and I think that's where aspirationally folks should aim to be, is around design pragmatism. And this aligns more with concepts of product thinking, and that being that strong intersect between finding the customer problems that are worth solving and finding the commercial or business objectives that align to those opportunities. So what is that intersect between the customer and the business, and how do we as designers enable that? And I think for most of us, folks start out here. That was certainly true of me earlier in my career. I thought much less about what the business was trying to achieve, and I thought more about just crafting great experiences, whiling away hours creating UIs and interactions without necessarily thinking about the context and what the business was trying to achieve. So how does design move past being something of an ideal to having genuine business impact? So in this talk, as I mentioned, I'm going to cover off how designer has impact, and I believe that falls into kind of four elements. One around customer insight, two around demand analysis, three around having a creative vision, and four on the topic of product thinking. So let's start with customer insight, and in particular, the ability for designers and researchers to identify new opportunities. So I'll summarize this as insights really are opportunities for creativity and innovation. They're the lifeblood of any good product decision, strategic or otherwise, and they're the hidden truths that present opportunities for business growth. So as a framework for this, we've used Emma Bolton's funnels model to really explain and delineate the different types of research and how that can be used within your organization. It's critical really here to have a system, the tools and the resources to enable good qualitative research, and for that research to help surface new opportunities for the business. And to do this effectively, we need to push beyond the more tactical efforts to conduct an ongoing program of strategic inquiry. And this strategic or generative research is key to discovering new, valuable problems for the business to solve. So we look at this model in the wider business context. Your program of research can operate effectively across three levels. One, more exploratory methods can help shape and define new markets and new problem spaces that are fundamental to informing company direction, strategy, and portfolio decisions. Two, more strategic efforts can help shape roadmaps, helping us identify and think about new customer problems to solve within the context of an existing problem space. And that can help shape and define a vision, and therefore the roadmap for where the product or the solution is heading. So three, more tactical research can help us shape backlogs, where we're starting to explore solutions for the problems that we've identified, testing potential ideas and moving towards having a clear indication of what we need to build and deliver to capitalize on those opportunities. Now, in many organizations, we tend to focus a lot of effort here really down in the weeds of our kind of more tactical day-to-day design decisions and thinking about how more tactical research efforts can help shape some of those low-level design decisions. Yet we spend less time thinking about understanding and putting the effort into researching what are the opportunities further upstream, and very little effort in most organisations to actually start to explore the foundations of who your customers are, what are the market opportunities, what are the jobs to be done for those individuals, to really kind of shape and define and steer the fundamentals of where the organisation is going and what the shape and scope of the portfolio looks like. So once we've found these opportunities, once we've used more strategic or exploratory research methods to help us uncover those and surface those for the organisation, what happens? Now, the challenge here is to make sure that research becomes part of the process and structure of your organisation. So when you're going through a planning cycle, when we're working with product management and other kind of senior stakeholders, we need to find a way to integrate these findings, these insights, into the decisions that are being made at a strategic level. So once we've discovered these new opportunities, as a result of surfacing insights about our customers, what do we do with them? Well, this seam of insight and opportunity is of no use to anyone unless it's part of a wider operating model within your organisation. So we could be doing great research, uncovering these new fundamental insights, but they're really going nowhere. So how do we fix that? My view is it has to be integrated with the strategy and planning process within your organisation. So in this example here, we'll see signals from different sources feeding into a shared learning backlog. We'll see that pass through or reference a set of foundational research artifacts, including things like personas, jobs to be done, and value propositions. And that will help shape and inform some of our strategic choices, and ultimately a backlog of problems to solve for the customer. So next I'm going to look at demand analysis, and this is, as I kind of alluded to slightly before, how we as designers and product people go about analysing the proposition based on customer insight. So one of our core values at Redgate is that we succeed when our customers succeed. But how do we determine success? So for me, success is a product of demand. That is the progress that customers are looking for in their personal and professional lives. Supply, so the degree to which your offering can help them to make the kind of progress they're looking for. And there's an aspect of consumption. So once we get those things right, their ability to reliably extract value from your offering. So at Redgate, we use the jobs to be done framework. This is a high-level illustration of a job map, which is a tool for mapping demand analysis to supply, i.e. the jobs customers are looking to get done and why they hire your product, versus what we currently have and position in the market to serve those jobs. Mapping allows us to identify unmet jobs within the scope of strategy. Another angle on this is about analysing and measuring value realisation. So once we have that good understanding of what demand looks like and we have a proposition to address it, what's the ability and the likelihood for our customers to extract value? So when do they get to those real moments of realising the value, and how can we help them along that journey? So by intentionally mapping and understanding what are the key touch points in our product, we can start to understand when and how often we deliver value. So what are the interactions or workflows that map to the jobs that we've identified, and how do we know that customers are succeeding? Can we reliably help them quickly get to those key moments of value and measure their ability to address these jobs and achieve their desired outcomes? So armed with this kind of analysis, we can then start to look at or determine different growth strategies. So we use Strategize as value proposition canvas as a great cross-functional tool for exploring and validating different propositions. It's a great visual way of mapping customer segments, their jobs, pains and gains to your proposition or a future proposition. We can identify at least 3 potential growth strategies. So we can explore, we can think about new products and services, we can extend, we can start to extend the reach to new segments, or we can enhance. We can start to think about how we might address new or different pains and gains to make that proposition even richer. So thirdly, design can have impact through creative vision, and that's our ability as designers to envision the future state. So I believe designers are uniquely positioned to bring others on a journey of what's possible. And how do we do that? So an example would be things like storyboards or comic strips to illustrate and help reimagine what might be possible. These typically are a scene-by-scene illustration of a desired future experience. It helps us escape the trap of now and various anchoring biases. Stories are a powerful medium for connecting on a more emotional level and bring the customer front and centre with technology as an enabler. Things like concept cars or design fiction, again, allow us to help others project beyond now and think about imagining and using creativity to push the boundaries of what's possible in the future. And the point here is not to imagine the impossible. We're trying to push ourselves to think just slightly further out of our comforts, to think about what might be around the corner and what is potentially possible if we apply technology and great design. Another tool we have up our sleeves is journey mapping. So journey maps can look at and evaluate the current state of a user's experience with a product or service, as well as helping us think about what we might want that to look like in future. So what is possible and what is a preferred, ideal, desired future experience for the customer. These operate across the boundaries and silos of any organisational structure and help chart a course forwards. So Blueprint enables teams and departments to rally together towards a better, more coordinated, desired experience. Your product and service is obviously just one aspect of a bigger experience and a wider context for the customer, and journey mapping is a great way as designers to help bring people together towards that shared vision. It also allows us to think about the end-to-end experience and shape customers' relationships with you as a brand. We think more in terms of relationships and less about transactions. And lastly, I'm going to talk a bit about product thinking and the point there of being able to design for outcomes. So I like to think about this in terms of how our efforts as designers shape others' expectations of us and of design. In other words, we're a product of the work we deliver. So if we as designers only ever focus on the outputs, the deliverables, that's what the business will expect of us. So we need to change that perception. And one way of doing that is being more explicit about how we connect our work to specific business outcomes. That will help us redefine the value of design. We set the expectations of the business, stakeholders and co-workers, so we have to manage them carefully. We need to think first about the outcomes we're trying to influence and map our work back from that. So as designers, we often think about impact from a customer's perspective. That's natural. That's what we do. That's how we're trained. But to design in a business context, it has to also be in service of business outcomes. So our job really is to create great customer outcomes, to create great business outcomes, and that is product thinking. So product thinking can be summarized as the application of design to enable great customer outcomes that drive desired business outcomes. And how do we do that? So designers tend to operate in this lower half where we're thinking about the specific pieces of work that we can deliver from a design perspective and how we create a great experience. And there's this intersect here between understanding how our work can drive customer outcomes. And then if we can map customer outcomes to business outcomes, we can start to see a through line all the way through the process, from the individual pieces of work we're doing, the experiments we're running, all the way through to how we can help align our work and drive outcomes for the business. So designers can have impact by solving problems for people and changing customers' behaviours. Where we can connect that to business-driven outcomes and key business measures is really where the value comes. So what does it look like when we bring this all together? And we focus on the four elements I've covered, but think about that as a system that drives and creates impact. So I like to think the focus on customer insights and how we surface new opportunities to the business is effectively giving us an understanding of the what is. What is the current position in the market as regards the people we're trying to serve and the problems they currently experience? We then think about demand analysis. As mentioned, a focus on jobs to be done helps us understand the delta between the what is and the what now. What does our proposition look like? How does that map to the jobs of the customers that we're trying to serve? And what could we do to improve our position? Thirdly, the focus on creative vision. Once we know what those opportunities are and we know what value that brings to the business, how are we going to use design and creativity to project what the future could be? And lastly, when we know what that future looks like and we know where we want to get to, how do we connect our work to execute on the outcomes that we're trying to drive? How do we be more intentional? And how does design help chart a course towards what the business is trying to achieve? So to conclude, when we design for impact, my belief is that designers and researchers have a duty to surface, analyse and envision new opportunities and then execute on those with a focus on delivering key customer and business outcomes. And to loop back and think about the spectrum of idealism to agnosticism that I presented at the beginning, we really want to shift our position and be more intentional about the work that we're doing day to day, to have a great view for how each and every design decision helps drive something meaningful for the customers, for the business. And we want to shift from thinking about design as pure artistry to thinking about design as an enabler for the business. We want to move from where we were to more of us being here and thinking here. So we're currently hiring for product designers at Redgate across all levels. If you're interested in a role and want to learn more, do visit our careers website or get in touch with me directly.